Hey guys, it's Stephanie here from Still Working Six Figures, your personal recruiter. I always get on here super early in the morning, so you tend to see me looking a little bit early. But I wanted to get on here and just go through some counter responses that that you should be using when it comes down to negotiating your salary. So this will be a little bit of a long live. I'm just going to get myself situated. Um, the best of my ability. If you guys are joining me while I'm showing this, then go ahead and just get some coffee. I have my coffee. Go ahead and get a pen and paper, and yeah, we'll just go ahead and get started. And if you are catching this later on, that's fine too. If you have any questions or you want some clarity, go ahead and put them in the comments. I am always in here all day, so I'll definitely be able to take a look and see what it is that you wrote. So let's just start. Awesome. So yeah, you receive this amazing offer, and the company responds to you, and they say, um, we don't have a budget for that right now, or that's a lot more than we would want to have paid. So at that point, you need to just ask some clarifying questions, right? You should be approaching the salary conversation with the sense that, okay, they are trying to get me, right? They want to hire me, and they think that I'm an amazing fit for this position, and I have these goals, I have these needs, right? So prior to that, you have already written down, what your goals are, what your needs are in terms of money, in terms of benefits package, and that's it, right? You have been maybe articulating that to other companies, maybe you haven't, but that's what you have in mind for your life and for what you need moving forward. And so maybe let's say that is let's say that you want an offer of 105 a year, or maybe even you want 100K, or 98K or something like that. And if you want 98K, you should be trying to get 105K. Like, there's not much of a difference between those. But let's just say you want 100K, and the company comes back and they say, right now we are looking to pay around 87,000 a year, or 90 a year. That's a lot higher than what we were looking for. At that point, you need to understand that you are the one that they are chasing, and you are deserving and worthy of that 100K. And if you did the research, you should know that 100K should be within the budget of what you can potentially make for this position. So at that point, if this is a verbal conversation, I would suggest strongly that you ask some clarifying questions. You say, geez, wow, that's unfortunate that that's unfortunate. At this time, I have been submitted at, around 100K per year. And just based on my qualifications and my experience, that's, what I've been looking for, and that's what I've been submitted at. Can you talk to me a little bit more about how compensation was created for this position? And what you can do, if you'd like, is maybe ask that question prior to even stating, this is what I've been submitted at before, this is what I've been looking for. So you can ask that question. You can say, hey, geez, that's unfortunate. That's, I've been looking to, receive, you can say, hey, that's unfortunate. Can you talk to me a little bit more about how this compensation package was created? And you could just be silent, and you could say it exactly the way I said it, which is just inquisitive, which is just curious, which is just trying to gain more understanding. You're still trying to be a team player. You're still trying to, be a team player. Help be someone that's not saying this is it, and shutting down the conversation. A lot of candidates are still shutting down conversations when, when you're hearing no, or when you're meeting resistance. That's a time to start a conversation. It's not a time to think that the conversation is ended. And then on top of that, a lot of you, lovely, amazing, worthy, smart, brilliant women are just not feeling worthy, or not feeling like you have the voice to, push it a little bit more. So that's what you need to do for step one. I'm just going to go ahead and write that in the comments, so when you're watching this on the replay, what we just talked about. So awesome. Yeah, so you are asking that clarifying question, which is, can you talk to me a little bit more about how this compensation package was created? And, that could be the start of a conversation. If you're working with, say a man, maybe he's coming across as very salesy, very aggressive, he may, use that to give you a short answer and just say, this is just typically how we do things here. This is just the budget that we have for this year. Last year, we made a few hires, and because of that, our budget was stretched a little bit. And so this is just what we have to work with right now. And in that case, you need to use emotional intelligence. And if it is, this guy that, comes across as quite salesy, quite, aggressive, then maybe instead of asking, can you talk to me about how this compensation package was made, you can say something like, okay, great, no, not okay, great, but okay, that's unfortunate. That's something that I need to think about because, and then you can lead with what I mentioned before, which is, at this time I have been submitted at, these ranges, and this is what I've been submitted at, and this is what, I've been being considered for. So you're putting the responsibility back on the other companies that you're interviewing with, and you are upping your social sort of status with him by throwing it back on the other companies. And it's not even a question, it's just wow, I'd love to see if we could maybe come a little bit closer, or not even saying that, but just stating this is what I've been submitted at, and then just falling silent and seeing what he responds with. 9.999 times out of 10, if you are you're not asking a question, if you are dealing with someone who's a hard-nosed salesperson, like a salesy sort of guy, working in government, or usually these people aren't found in startups, or startups, because startups really value people, and so they typically are hiring recruiters that are trying to work with you. But if you are interviewing at, say, like a big brand name company like a Adobe or Salesforce or the government or finance, sometimes you will find recruiters like that are just very like hard-nosed, not the best people. You're not leading with the clarifying question. You're leading with, wow, that's unfortunate. This is what I've been submitted at other companies. And you're just falling silent and you're seeing what he says. And I'm saying he because that's the personality type that's usually associated with it. And if it's, a woman, it's usually maybe a younger woman, and she can lead with that, and then you just fall silent. So she may be the same type of person, and you can say the same sort of statement sentence and then fall silent. And then, when that happens, you're silent. Maybe they're silent as well. They're using that tool. And you could say, I think I would need to just take 24 hours to think about this. As I mentioned, I am really, and then you go into the unique, specific reasons why you're excited about this position. So this is not the time to, be very generic and say, I'm interested in this position because this company is a great fit for me. No, you need to say, Bob, I talked to him about, XYZ thing yesterday, and because of talking to him about XYZ thing yesterday, I'm so excited, and we connected in this way. And then you need to give at least 3 people that you've talked to and really sell why you're super excited about this. No BS here. Do not, people pick up on energy nowadays. It's not really what you're saying, it's who you are and what you're leading with, and as well as having these negotiation tactics in the back of your mind. So leading with the real reasons why you're interested, and try to list at least 3, and then reiterating that, and then falling silent and saying, so I'll give you an example. Bob, again, thank you for this. I'd like to take about 24 hours to think about this because, as I mentioned, this is quite below what I've been submitted at this time. And, gosh, I was really excited, about this opportunity because Bob, told me about, the next fiscal year, how he wants, the data science team to explode. And he's going to be using, Tripperly app to, build it out. And since I've been using Tripoli Act and I'm excited about using it more to build out a data science team, I was really, really excited about that. A lot of the companies that I've interviewed with, although they are, seeming to offer a little bit higher on the base than you are, they're not using this app. And for me, professional experience is more important for me at this time. And, Bob is just a really nice guy. I could really see myself really, making a big effect, or just being really effective on this team, because I, meshed well with Bob. And then on top of that, after I met with the COO and he talked about just where you guys are headed next year, and how, HR is thinking more about our voices, and some of the ideas and the tools that I implemented at my last company to make a team that's more cohesive and more team, player focused, etc. These are the reasons why I'm so excited, and I am really sad about us being a mismatch in terms of finances. I'd love to come down, but unfortunately I can't at this time, because I do have my financial obligations as well, coupled with just what I'm seeing on the market. So that's a huge example of you stating, you putting your social status out there, saying that I have other companies that are interested in me and they're paying more, as well as, throwing so many examples and reasons why, you're in love with this company. And the recruiter, if you're dealing with that hard-nosed Bob or that hard-nosed Sally salesperson, they're softening up a bit because you just gave them so many reasons why you're in love with this company. And even though, recruiters have been through a lot, we've seen liars and just the derelicts of society. So even though we're usually coming to the negotiation table with a really hard stance to knock you down as much as possible in terms of base salary, etc., if you are coming to us with that much love, about the company, about the team, and we're just softening, we're just like, oh God, geez. And then at that point, we're just thinking of ways while you're talking, we're just thinking of ways that we can come closer to your ask, and basically just come back to the hiring team, the HR team, the hiring manager with, well, this person was, they said they wanted 100K, and I know I offered them 87K, but, they really are excited and they're happy. And we're back into the teamwork focused, where we're on your team and we're going to try to, get closer to your ask. So I'm just going to pause here and see if, there's any questions that you guys had about that. And if not, go ahead and throw your questions as per usual in the comments, and I'll just, get to them a little bit later. But that's just an easy way to, start the conversation off right. Turn that no into, well, let's just revisit this conversation, instead of you using that no to step back and, think that you don't have any room to negotiate. So that's that. And then we'll talk about, what the next steps would be there. Yeah, so before I even, get into what the next steps would be, I just want to, let you know that we will be, going through this publicly on Thursday and Friday via Zoom. I am, having just a salary negotiation series. The first Thursday we'll just talk about, the mindset changes that you need to come with, your worthiness, why you deserve to ask for exactly what you want, and then just that first round negotiation. So, if you're leading the ask, I'm going to give you a script for how to lead that ask. And if you are not leading the ask and the company is leading the ask, I give you a script on what you need to say, to counter. And then on Friday, we talk all about counters, and so how you're managing the conversation. So what you're saying to get closer to that end goal, right? Awesome. So now we'll just touch on, what happens after that. So at that point, you say, Bob, everyone blew me away, and, I wish I could get closer, and, you're silent. And at that point, hard-nosed Sally and hard-nosed Bob are just like eating out of your hand. They're going to be like, all right, yeah, let me see what I can do. That's it. They're not going to be coming back saying no, unless, and to be honest, if you're in this community, you're looking at positions that are paying at least 75. $1,000 a year. If you're looking at positions that paying less, usually, there's no, I'm assuming, and I'm not assuming based on just, thought process. Like, I used to hire for people making 50 to 70K early on in my career too. So this assumption is based in, expert knowledge, but based on that, sometimes the budget is just the budget. So, so there's not much room to negotiate. I'm not speaking to you guys, because if you guys are in this group, you're probably looking at the 75K to 350K on the salary, right? So there's room to negotiate. So at that point, they are not negotiating with you anymore. They are seeing what they can do. So hard-nosed Bob and hard-nosed Sally will say, let me see what I can do. They may even throw in a bunch of language like, I'm not making any promises. I'm not making any promises. I don't know if this can work, but I will see what I can do. However they use that language, that's the undertone of it, right? And so you say, thank you, I really appreciate that. I understand you need to get back into the genuineness of conversation and give them some props and say, I understand how difficult it must be to put you in this situation. You must do this all day. I wish I could have been one of those candidates that was just like an easy close for you. I definitely want to be, you need to say this, I definitely want to be, because, there's nothing that would make me feel better than to sign today, and if you can get me closer to this ask, then I will sign tomorrow. And so that's just an advanced negotiation technique you can use. It's basically letting the other party know that the win is close. And so the philosophy behind that is that people hate negotiating, right? Just as much as you are terrified of negotiating, hard-nosed Sally and hard-nosed Bob, maybe they're not terrified of it anymore, but they really hate it for the most part. They just want you to say yes. And the minute they hear that, wow, if I just do this thing, she'll say yes, it's like a red flag that goes up in your hair. It's like, woo, it's like, wow, okay, crap, let me just close this out quickly. So that's an advanced technique you can use. You can just say, if you do this thing, I will sign today, I will sign tomorrow. And at that point, you should say, okay, I'll be in touch. And so I would also, just depending, if they say, okay, I'll be in touch, thank you again for your time, we'll be in touch, and they hang up, that's fine. But if there's just some sort of silence still happening on the line, then you can maybe say, okay, yeah, and again, I'll take, the 24 hours to think about this, potentially, right? But use your emotional intelligence here. If they're running the conversation, let them run the conversation, let them shut down the conversation on their terms. People like it when they feel like they're in control. So instead of you trying to get the last word, probably benefits you to let them get the last word. So that's the first round of negotiating. And at that point, if you're dealing with a hard-nosed Sally, I'm just making it the most difficult, right? I'm not thinking about, people that are a little bit more give and take. I'm thinking about the a-hole recruiters that are out there. So likely they'll just try to get you on the phone again. They won't, try to talk about this via email, because all salespeople know it's best to do it via verbal, because you can control the dynamics a lot better. So at that point, you should be waiting to hear back from them. And, let's just say they, the worst case scenario, right? So they initially said about 87K, you want 100, you ideally want 105, but you want 100, right? And they say an 87K initially. Let's say they come back with, they come back with, say, 94. Depending on the company, if they come back with 94, that can make them look a little bit cheap. So they may come back with 95. They may come back with 93. It depends. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because you want 100K. So let's say they come back with, the 94, the 93, or the 95. If they come back with 95, I would suggest that you use that advanced technique and say, I'll be honest with you, Sally, I really appreciate how much closer you were able to get me to the number that I'm looking for. And because of that, I just want to tell you, kudos and thank you so much. If you can get me just a little bit closer to that 100K, considering, unfortunately, I do have these other companies that are, offering me 100K, I will sign today. Even if that's, 98K, I will sign today, and let them know that. And that can be via verbal as well. I would suggest, making this verbal, because at this point you want to be using emotional, sort of tactics, versus just email. And this can work via email as well too. We can create a whole scenario via email as well that is successful too. But I would just suggest doing that. And, they can say, gosh, but at the same time, like, as much as they say this is something that, I really try to get as much money as possible, you need to say, I really want to accept, but I do have these others, things happening here. And just keep that energy of, I really am trying to help you as well, with everything. So, this will work, period. But I just can't, give, specific things unless, there's a specific example that's happening. And if we work together, we can do that. Just to go back a little bit, yeah, so, they come back with the 93, they come back with the 94, 93, and you just let them know, can you just try to get me as close to that, 100K as possible, and I'll sign today. And at that point, that's probably the end of the negotiation. If we're talking about a salary that's 93, it's like a salary that's in, the 135, the 140, the 160 range, then you can, take it back a few more rounds, and you can bring in benefits package, you can bring in stock, you can use all of these things. You bring in a sign-on bonus, and even at the 94, 95 range, you can ask for, well, can you make the difference up in a sign-on bonus? These are all tools that you could use, and people are fine with that. It's cheaper for a company to throw you $5,000 or $3,000 or $2,000 in a sign-on bonus versus tacking that onto your salary, because it's just cheaper for them to do it. So, use that as a tool as well. And I'll just go ahead and put that in the comments. Yeah, sorry. And that was about, I want to say, 21. Okay, yeah, so you can do that as well. Awesome. And so, so they come back and they say, yeah, 94. And you're like, geez, can you get me closer to that 100K? And I'll sign today. And I really am sorry to make you do this. And then you can use a little bit more social status. So this is when you can choose to let them know that, I do have another offer. Be very careful with this language, because some companies, and depending on how, rude, asshole-ish this recruiter is, they may, require you to present proof, and it may come across as, just really rude or entitled, depending on how you set up the negotiation thus far, and depending on your personality. So you have to use some emotional intelligence there. But if you're a nice person, or you tend to, if you're in this group, I'm assuming you don't ask for much. So you're already like someone that is really, really nice. So you can use this sort of language, right? So you could say, yeah, I really loved it. Gosh, I'm so sorry to have to do this to you again. If you could come a little bit closer to that mark, even if it's just 98K, and you guys throw in a sign-on bonus to make it 100K, then I will sign today. And just to let you know, I do have some other some other things happening as well that, as I mentioned, is in that 100K range. And I'd love to just, continue the conversation, and hopefully, we can come to an agreement that is mutually beneficial to us both as soon as possible. So if you'd like, I can, just take some time to hear back from you guys today. And at that point, it's just kind of like, you throwing your PP on the table and just letting them know that this is the end of the conversation. And you could say it in a nice way, but it's the end of the conversation. It's up to them to come closer to that number, which is give you that 98K plus the sign-on bonus. I doubt they would come back with 97. If they came with 93, maybe they'll come with 96, and they'll tack on, a 2K or 3K bonus. That'll bring it to the 98K range. And so at the end of the day, right, you are ending up with a salary that is still in the high range, still in the top of the range of what you're looking for, which was initially 100K, versus, you know, whatever you would have accepted if you had just, you know, accepted that 87 they came with initially. So that's just a great way to, you know, think about tackling your salary negotiation. And I just want to end with letting you know how I work with women. And so how I work with women is we do this. We do this. So you're talking to me about your, you know, either if it's a performance review and we are trying to negotiate a higher salary for you, a bigger title for you, you're talking to me about who the compensation team is, who the HR team is, talking to me about their personality. I'm, you know, having that initial 1 hour career strategy session with you where I get to see your personality and I can imagine you in a negotiation, and so I can make recommendations based on your personality that are going to be super successful for you. And, you know, I'm just giving you the language, the tactics, the tools to, you know, close the deal in a performance review. So if that's something that's happening for you, then you can hire me to do that. I typically work with candidates that are going through performance reviews on a one-on-one basis. It usually takes about 3 sessions to, you know, create the game plan, to create the benchmarking, to practice, you know, the language that we're using. And then I also offer, you know, a 50-minute prep. It's usually like a half an hour prep before every single meeting. So that's just, you know, additional time to make sure that you have everything you need, and my women, you know, get what they're looking for because of that. And so if you're not, you know, going through a performance review and you are on the market and you are interviewing, I'll be honest, those are my favorite type of women because, you know, although I obviously have experience, you know, managing performance reviews when I was an HR associate at, you know, a Fortune 500 humongous company, you know, advising hiring teams on how to, you know, how much money to give their employees. You know, I used to sit in offices and advise, you know, people making so much more money than me and advise them on, you know, when should I, you know, promote this person, how much should I promote them compared to these other people. So I have, you know, this insider knowledge on performance reviews because, you know, I've done them before just from a corporate HR perspective. But, you know, the majority of my experience has been just salary negotiation as a recruiter. So that's just a, you know, a place that I love to be. So if that's you, then, you know, I would suggest maybe considering the group program, the 6-Figure Catalyst, and that's where you yourself and a few other women are in this program, and you know, you're in the interview process or you're about to start the interview process, and, you know, I'm doing everything for you. So, you know, we are week 1, we are working on, you know, the career strategy session, 1 hour deep dive into where you'd like to be, you know, what kind of positions you're going to be interviewing for. Week 2, I believe we are doing salary benchmarking, and that's where we are assessing what the low, the high, the mid-range for you will be, and then we are laser focusing in on high range and creating a game plan to ask for the high range. Week 3 is your personal branding, and that's where we're tackling your resume. I'm writing your resume for you, and I'm writing your pitch so that you're memorizing it, and so that when you are interviewing with candidates, you know how when you're interviewing with companies, you know how to sell yourself, and you know exactly what to say. You know how to answer questions. You are chock full of confidence and self-love and corporate worth. So you are just entering the interview process with, how can they benefit me? Like, is this a good fit for me? Versus most candidates that are just so nervous and they are trying to sell themselves. That will not be you when you are working with me, when you're in a 6-Figure Catalyst. Just FYI, the candidates that approach interviewing in that stance are the candidates that get hired, or the candidates that have multiple job offers. And then I think week 4 is where we are working on, I always forget week 4. Week 4, we are, I want to say we are just, employer research. So that's where we are, you know, if you don't have companies in mind already, this is a time where you are identifying companies that you're obsessed with, that you love, and then we are creating a game plan on how to get their interviews. So I have a million contacts in the recruitment industry, whether this be agencies, whether this be companies, startups, everything. I have, you know, contacts overseas in Asia. I just, you know, this is what I do. So I have contacts that can get you in front of hiring managers. I have, you know, a professional account on LinkedIn where I can send your resume. I can message people for you on your behalf. The sky's the limit when you work with me, in terms of just getting your resume in front of companies that you probably wouldn't have been able to before. And so what we're doing is we're looking at the company's mission statement, their values, their code of conduct, and we are creating pitches based on that. So, you know, companies love it when you are obsessed with them, when you're in love with them, and when you know ambiguous, sort of hard to know information about them, right? So we're doing the research to get that information, writing it down, and having you memorize it so that you can look like a candidate that's obsessed with them. And that's another way to put you above, you know, the average candidate on the market that isn't doing this sort of stuff. And then week 5 and week 6 are my favorite weeks, because that's when you are, you know, doing the salary negotiation and the interview prep. So if you're in the group, that's when, you know, you are partnering up with the other women in the group, and you guys are, you know, practicing salary negotiation, you know, countermeasures, and you are practicing interviewing with each other. And if you decide to work with me one-on-one, you can do that with me as well. And so that's what the 6-figure catalyst is. And if you're in an interview process, that's what I would recommend you do. The 6-figure catalyst is every month. The next cohort is April 22nd, and it's amazing. I think we have 2 spots left, and the next will be in May. And so you can work with me one-on-one at any time. I have a ton of women that I'm working with right now for performance reviews, and also some salary negotiation stuff, some career strategy stuff. So if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, try to get in quickly, because my calendar is continually getting booked, which is lovely. But I definitely want to make sure that you guys can work with me since you're in the group already. So that's it. I just want to jump on here at the 30-minute mark and just talk to you a little bit about, you know, what you can expect in the series that's coming up this Thursday and Friday. If you want to even hear more about, you know, more specific scripts to use, then I would say register. I'm just going to go ahead and put the link to register in the comments below. And yeah, I look forward to serving you on Thursday and Friday. And if you have any other questions, go ahead and put them in the comments below. We'll talk soon. Cheers.